White Wolf looked back and called out to the boss. She apologized for failing to keep her earlier promise and pledged that Xinghua Ridge would support the boss and the princess under Toad Village from that point onward. She promised that Xinghua Ridge would never betray the Toad clan and sent her greetings to the brothers of Toad Village. Cheng Dalei told her he would pass the message along. He then remembered the gift he had left behind in the room where he had stayed, which he had intended to hand to her himself before forgetting. In his memory, Cheng Dalei and Li Wan'er sat together in that room while a piece of green jade rested on the table. They held each other and spent a private moment together, and the jade remained on the table afterward. Cheng Dalei explained that the item was still there, and told White Wolf to take it and place it in the most important spot in Xinghua Ridge. He stressed that it was extremely important and could not be lost. Li Wan'er wondered what it was and why his hand had drifted so close to her chest. Cheng Dalei then told the group it was time to leave, and they rode away while White Wolf remained where she was and watched them depart. Two women later passed by a structure and a villager asked whether this was the gift Boss Cheng had left for White Wolf. She guessed that it might have been a gem or even fish scales. White Wolf admitted that she did not know, but the object gave her a sense of peace when she held it. She wondered what Cheng Dalei had meant by leaving it behind. The villager thought it was some kind of green jade and recalled that he had instructed them to place it in the most important place in the village. White Wolf considered what that place would have been and concluded that it would have been her own heart. The villager asked whether it was a love token and guessed that the boss might have feelings for her. White Wolf dismissed the idea and told her to stop. When the villager offered to trade silver for it, if White Wolf did not want it, White Wolf refused, told her to stop babbling, and ordered her to have it turned into a pendant. After the villager left, White Wolf walked alone and thought about the big boss. She wondered whether he would ever change his habit of leaving affection behind wherever he went. Cheng Dalei continued the journey with the others. Xinghua Ridge had already come under the protection of the nation's fortune, but the distance between Xinghua Ridge and Toad Village meant the dragon scale could only suppress threats and could not send a warning. Cheng Dalei believed the suppression effect was enough, and if anyone carrying a container tried to invade, Sima Qian would report it to him. Li Wan'er asked whether the jade had been a love token. Cheng Dalei denied that and described it as a farewell gift. He explained that the jade was the same type as the piece he had been handling a few days earlier, and that he still had several more. An immortal had helped him obtain them, and placing one at Xinghua Ridge would protect the place. Li Wan'er accepted that explanation and asked for one as well. Cheng Dalei placed another piece of green jade in her hand and told her to keep it with her at all times. Li Wan'er thought he was the best and wanted to kiss him. Ni and Yang rode behind them in silence as the group continued into the distance. 10 days passed while Cheng Dalei and his two companions moved carefully through the battle zones controlled by different warlords. They crossed the territory under Songpo-kang and reached Liangzhou and the outer area of Qinchuan. During the journey, Cheng Dalei had already contacted the scouts from Toad City and ordered them to return to the city to deliver a message. Li Wan'er felt afraid and Cheng Dalei tried to calm her. Even so, both of them carried guilt and a deep sense of unease. Leaves moved above the forest canopy, and the wind carried them over the mountain range beneath the evening sky. A fortress emerged between the mountains, and the stone walls of its gatehouse held firm in the fading light. At the gates, Su Ying and Liu Ji looked up as the leaves drifted down around them, while Liu Ji held Cheng Dalei's sleeping child. Su Ying noticed the leaves first. Liu Ji called for her to look and announced that Dalei had returned. Gai Fei Bao immediately shouted that the boss was back. Gao Fei Hu called for the news to be passed to everyone. Cheng Dalei and the others approached the city on horseback along the dusty road and continued slowly toward the fortress entrance. At the same time, a system notification confirmed that the host had returned to his territory and activated 2 new territorial rewards. Toad City received Bountiful Harvest, a buff that reduced pest infestations, improved soil fertility, and increased crop production by 30% for 3 years. It also received Resilience, a buff that raised the constitution of Toad Clan soldiers by 1, letting badly wounded soldiers endure longer and improving the success rate of surgeries. Changes began to spread across Toad City as workers continued tending the fields. In the infirmary, a wounded soldier was carefully treated by a caregiver. Cheng Dalei looked over the rewards. He noted that the farming buff, combined with Wan'er's 5 winds and 10 rains, would let Toad City store a huge grain reserve before war and stay fully supplied. He believed Qinchuan would eventually become rich in food and resources, and he also noted that the healing buff would reduce losses among the soldiers. The group reached the city gates and stopped. Su Ying called his name and Li Wan'er quietly followed with the same. Cheng Dalei greeted Su Ying awkwardly and told her he had returned. Su Ying stepped down and walked over to the group before throwing her arms around him. She repeated that he was back and told him how much she had worried. She also noted that even after being away for months, he looked unusually calm and refreshed. Cheng Dalei could not respond clearly. Su Ying pointed out that she had already noticed the woman beside him and had seen that riding had not been easy for her. She made it clear that she could already guess what had happened between them. Ni Yinyang reacted in confusion, and Li Wan'er flushed at once. Cheng Dalei tried to explain Wan'er's situation, but Su Ying found their nervousness more amusing than upsetting. Even so, she made it clear that some punishment was unavoidable. Cheng Dalei yelped when Su Ying bit him. She asked why he always drew so much attention to himself. He winced, called her name, and asked to talk it through. Su Ying chose to leave it for later, noting that he had been traveling all day and that hot water was already prepared. Li Wan'er stayed quiet and watched as the two of them walked off together. She remained standing in place until Su Ying turned back and asked why she was still there. Wan'er was caught off guard. Su Ying told her to come home with them. Li Wan'er immediately brightened, agreed, and addressed Su Ying as her sister. The group then headed into the fortress under the last light of sunset. Later, Li Wan'er sat alone in a wooden tub and drifted into thought. Night settled across the city rooftops. While bathing with her husband, Su Ying brought up Wan'er directly. She admitted that she had already known Wan'er cared for him. Because Wan'er was a princess, Su Ying had never wanted him involved with the throne. In her view, anything connected to the throne only brought misfortune, constant conflict, betrayal, and the loss of their brothers. She asked why he had not talked to her earlier and told him that the whole matter left her deeply uncomfortable. She also questioned whether he expected her to welcome it and support it without hesitation. Cheng Dalei hesitated before answering. He explained that he and Wan'er had gone through life and death together, and because of that, he could not abandon her. Su Ying cut him off and asked how many more people he planned to risk his life with before bringing her more sisters. Cheng Dalei answered that with Su Ying, Liu Ji, Li Hua, and Wan'er, he was already more than satisfied and could not manage anymore. Su Ying asked whether there were truly no new attachments and told him to think carefully. She then asked whose heart he still owed a debt to. Cheng Dalei fell silent. He swore there was no one else, even while thinking of White Wolf and another girl. Su Ying eventually let the matter pass for now. She admitted that Wan'er's status had always made her afraid that Wan'er would take him away and turn him into a prince consort, which was why she had never exposed Wan'er's feelings before. Now the empire was gone. Wan'er had become the city's chief steward, and she was also his chosen candidate to become empress. Because of that, Su Ying told him that if he wanted to bring Wan'er, he should do it. She only asked for one promise in return, that he would not neglect her, his old wife, after bringing Wan'er in. Cheng Dalei promised he never would, searched for the right words, and finally called her his queen. Su Ying thought Cheng Dalei was foolish, but she never believed he was a bad person. Another man in his place would likely have filled his household with wives and concubines already. She understood what would happen if she forced him to abandon Li Wan'er. Li Wan'er would either withdraw from the world or marry someone else, and Cheng Dalei would carry that regret for the rest of his life. She could not accept that outcome. She believed Cheng Dalei was meant for larger things and should have been focused on expanding his power. Men like him were measured by their achievements, judgment, knowledge, and ability, not by how they handled private relationships. He could not afford to let personal matters interfere with his ambitions. Su Ying decided she would handle the household herself and speak to Li Wan'er directly. If Li Wan'er was willing to honor her as an elder sister, Su Ying would accept her gladly. She also chose to support Cheng Dalei's decision to make Li Wan'er empress, but she did not think Li Wan'er was ready for that burden yet. Li Wan'er could manage official duties, but the position of empress required more experience and greater stability. She still needed more preparation, and Cheng Dalei accepted that judgment. For the moment, he only needed to make peace with Su Ying, and he agreed without resistance. Su Ying and Li Wan'er then talked late into the night while Cheng Dalei remained outside that conversation. He never learned what passed between them. In the end, Li Wan'er offered Su Ying tea as a formal sign of respect and entered the Cheng household. After months of travel, Cheng Dalei rested for only half a day before returning to the affairs of the fortress. Before leaving, he had already built a stable administrative structure, so the stronghold continued operating normally during his absence. Toad City remained a level 3 stronghold under Cheng Dalei's rule as city lord. His abilities covered construction, mining, fortification, unity, and healing. The city already had the city lord's mansion, parade ground, barracks, granary and treasury, and many other facilities in operation. It also benefited from resilience and harvest bonuses. The regular army numbered 20,000, with more than 20,000 militia in reserve. Because of Song Pokong's blockade and the spread of hostile rumors, refugee arrivals had slowed sharply. Only a few thousand new residents had entered the city in recent months. The permanent population stood above 180,000, while more than 100,000 refugees remained outside the walls because residents inside required taxes. Most of them lived around Xinghua Pass beyond Toad City itself. Hart then informed Cheng Dalei that the city could not be upgraded any further. Level 3 appeared to be the upper limit for a single city, so any further growth would require territorial expansion and the conquest of additional cities. The intelligence network had also expanded quickly. After some time, it had grown past 1,000 operatives, all dispatched to gather reports from different regions. If outside agents were counted as well, the total would have been even higher. Cheng Dalei began reviewing the information they had sent back. In only a few months, reports from across the empire had piled up without pause. Many regions were suffering from extreme weather, including droughts, floods, and locust outbreaks, and crop failures had followed across wide areas. Xinchuan was the major exception. The weather there remained favorable, and hundreds of acres of new farmland had been opened outside the city. Cheng Dalei believed this was likely the effect of Li Wan'er's blessing over wind and rain. Outside Xinchuan, war continued in region after region. Poor harvests and food shortages made higher grain prices likely in the near future. Toad City, however, faced no immediate pressure. Its granaries were already full, and Li Wan'er and Su Ying were preparing another granary before the next harvest arrived. With stores like that, Cheng Dalei even considered raising more troops once winter came. Another report came from the blacksmith's workshop. The hydraulic forging hammer had been improved again, and the craftsmen had produced several forging templates. Their research also refined cannon construction, making the weapons easier to manufacture and easier to move. During the previous 6 months, the workshop had produced dozens of cannons, more than 1,000 sets of armor, thousands of weapons, and tens of thousands of farming tools. Those tools had already improved agricultural work across the territory. Cheng Dalei did not need to manage every detail personally. Once he established the foundation, the system continued developing on its own. Seeing how far the workshop had progressed, he began thinking about visiting it in person. He closed his eyes, satisfied with what had been achieved.